Hey, welcome to Art with Mr. O again. We're going to do something with 1 point perspective now, and this is going to be really cool. It's going to look difficult, but if you've done 1 point perspective boxes and you've practiced them, remember practice makes you better, you'll be able to do this without much difficulty. It's going to look difficult, but it's really not. It's just because it's from an interesting point of view. So let me give you a look at one of the drawings that you're going to do. So this is an example of a 1 point perspective bird's eye view of the city drawing. That's what we're going to do. Now, yours doesn't have to be this detailed, but it can be if you want to. People look at this and they are just blown away because this looks really hard. But if you really look at it, it's just a bunch of 1 point perspective boxes. So this probably will not be on the back side of your instruction sheet because I don't think I can send that through email. But this will be, hopefully this is an instruction sheet that you'll get with a packet. If you don't, we're going to show you on the video. Plus you can kind of pause on this and probably look at it a little bit. You might be able to read it. I'm not sure if we can focus that well or not, but anyway, so let's get started. Now, kind of a blessing in disguise, I already started. However, I forgot to hit the record button, so I've already done a little bit of work. So here, this will probably be about a 3-part video, a 2-3-part video. So here is the first part that we do, the first steps that we do. And what are those first steps? Well, we basically, I'll do a couple up here on the, what I'm going to call the top. You draw the tops of what will eventually be the buildings. So I'm just going to kind of do a longer rectangular one here. Now we had to be pretty picky when we were doing 1 point perspective. We don't have to be quite as picky now for the shape of the top, because there's a lot of different shaped buildings. As you can see, the one right beside the straight edge right now, I made that, and that's a common shape that I make because it reminds me of what might be the corporate headquarters of like a grand piano company. This shape right here, it's kind of got a square corner, but then it's got that curve on it like a grand piano might have. So once you've drawn, so I've drawn 3, 6, 9 shapes here. There really is not a minimum for you. There's not a maximum for you. It depends on how big you draw them. If you draw very tiny buildings, you probably should do more to have it look like a city. If you draw very large detailed buildings, well then that's just like you're closer, the bird's not flying quite as high. So after you get the shapes of the tops drawn, then you draw all the corners to the vanishing point, just like we did in 1 point perspective. However, you don't draw through the top of any building. So like that building right there, that line stops when it gets to the top of this other building, because that building, turns out, is behind the triangular one. So let's see what happens here. So we have that one's gonna go down like that. Now I'm drawing them down towards what would be the ground, and I'm kind of letting them fade out because I know I'm going to draw the bottom on these buildings also, and I'm going to have to erase at least part of those lines probably, and some of them I may have to continue as well. So if we're a bird flying around, we see the top of these buildings, we know that the buildings, as they go down towards the ground, and we're a bird, they're getting farther away from us. And so the buildings themselves should look like they're getting smaller. So that's why we have to draw them to the vanishing point. That's kind of a little trick that helps keep us drawing them correctly. So what I've done is I have all of these tops of the buildings, and I have room. I could put more, and I may eventually, but for right now, that's enough to show everybody. Each building will probably have what I call an idiot ledge, which is just a thin border around it that represents a small wall, and it's not called an idiot ledge, but I call it that. It's just there to keep rain and everything from falling down off the roof when it rains. But I like to say, oh, that's up there in case the idiots, so they don't accidentally fall off the building. I probably shouldn't say that, but oh well. So you can put that that thin edge around all of the tops, and that kind of makes it look a little more like a real building. It kind of helps define the top. And then we got a couple L-shaped buildings, and that's once you figure out how to do an L-shaped building, they are kind of fun to do. And there's an easy L and a difficult L, and I think I've drawn them both here. I'll show you the difference in a minute. So it's kind of the idiot edge there, and you can do that on all your buildings. So now the next step, once you get quite a few of these buildings drawn, the next step is to draw the bottoms in. So there's going to be some streets down there. You may want to think about that when you're putting your buildings in. If you remember seeing this one, there was one main street that went through the entire thing. What that meant then is that all of the tops were built on the side, and there was a clear channel through the middle. You might do that both ways. That makes it easier to draw streets when it comes time for that. That's up to you. So, how do you draw the bottom of a building? Well, let's take this L-shaped building. Well, first let's do this regular rectangular building. So I'm going to go, I look at the top goes horizontal and then vertical. So the bottom is going to go horizontal and then vertical. So I draw a line across the bottom of this wall, and the line that I draw is parallel to the line at the top of the wall. So at the top of the wall is a horizontal line, at the bottom of the wall is a horizontal line. So now this wall, the top of this wall is a vertical line, so the bottom of the wall is going to be a vertical line that joins up with that corner. So I put my pencil right on the corner, right on that line. I move my straight edge over, make sure it's vertical, and I draw the bottom of that building. So now I erase the extra lines. Remember I said I was kind of keeping them light so I could do this. And there is that building. Now, this building, this L-shaped building, is behind that building. And so we have to make sure that we make the bottom of that building up here somewhere and not down here. If we make the bottom of this building down here, it's going to make this one look like it's floating. And you probably don't want floating buildings in your city. I mean, they'd be cool if you could do it without falling on somebody, but I don't think we've figured that out yet. So I'm going to move it way back here, and I look at the top of this wall, and it's a horizontal line. So I draw a horizontal line. And now you can't see it, but this line goes over, and then it goes up, and then over again. So I have to kind of imagine this line goes over, and then up, and then probably about right there goes over again. So I'm going to make that horizontal line between those two corners, and once the top of the wall gets to here, then it goes back this way, which would be a vertical line. So I'm going to put my pencil right on the corner there and get my ruler vertical and just draw it right across the two of them. And so now I erase the extra lines, and are. There's another building. Now it looks like there's a space in between them, and this is just back behind that building. So let's see, I don't think we don't have another L. That's fine. So this L, we can see all of the sides down here. So we see at the top it goes up, over, up, over. So down here at the bottom, it's got to go up with a vertical line to that corner, then over with a horizontal line to the next corner, then up with a vertical line to the next corner, and then over, just like we said. Up, over, up, over. And there's the bottom of that one. Now, that one was looking super, super tall, and now it looks like it's just a regular hotel or something, not some skyscraper. You could make it taller if you want. I would hesitate to make them all super, super tall. It makes it a little less believable. So now here's something else that we can keep in mind. Now, what happens if there's a street down at the bottom of this building, and there's a street that goes along this side of the building? It probably would go along this building as well. So the way we can make that look like that street, like those buildings are on that same street, is to make a line so that the bottoms line up with each other. So this one probably would be about right there. And I'm going to extend it over and just make a little mark right here on that one. You'll see in a little bit what we do with that. And then this building, you can just barely see the other side of that. So now it looks like that building, and you'll see in a little bit. I might put a sidewalk or a street or something in there. That building. So now it looks like this is a shorter building, and these two buildings are on the same street. So now this one is a little difficult. So we're going to make the bottom here, and the bottom has to do the same thing as the top. But you can't do it this same shape because this is a smaller one. So this is why I don't necessarily recommend this, but it does make it a little harder. You have to kind of guess at these ones, and you just got to try to kind of match the curve, and then erase. That's pretty close. And then erase your extra lines. So that's the bottom of it curves just like the top. So basically the rule is that the bottom of all of these buildings have got to do exactly the same thing as the top does. So let's make these two line up. We'll make these two a little taller. We'll put the bottoms clear down here, like right. Put a little vertical line there, and then that comes over, and I'm just going to make a mark on the triangular building so it looks like it's on the same street. And this tall rectangular building, it goes vertical and then horizontal, or whatever direction you want to call those. And so then down here where it hits this corner, it's going to tuck behind the building right there, and you'll see it'll make it look like the bottom of the building goes right behind the triangular one. And then I cut, or I erase the extra lines off there. So you see, if the triangular one kept going, it would look like this one was floating. So we made a little mark even with this one, and now the bottom of the triangular one, we just have to match this angle. So we put it on there, and we try to keep the same angle, and we go down to that mark, and we go like that, and that's the bottom of the triangular building. Now it looks like it's about lined up with that other square building there. Okay, so, and let's line this little building here, let's line it up with this one, and maybe there's like a little traffic loop down in the bottom of there, or maybe a little park in the middle of the, like a plaza or something, but in amongst all these buildings. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one up, and you go ahead and finish yours up, and we'll come back with another video on how to do all the roof detail and all the detail on all the walls. And it won't be too long. It'll be a little bit of work, and we'll have an awesome picture of the bird's eye view of the city, and everybody will be impressed because they've never seen anything like that, and they think it's really hard, and we know it's not. It just takes a little bit of practice. So don't forget, have fun with art.